Good morning and welcome to this July 8th edition of Let It Be Known. This morning, we're going to talk with Remi Adeleke, who was born in Western Africa, but following the death of his father, he, his mother, and brother relocated to the Bronx in New York. After years of making regrettable decisions, Remi joined the Navy in 2002 and later became a Navy SEAL. Ending his successful naval career in 2016, he was led to pursue careers in writing, speaking, and acting, including the 2017 franchise film Transformers: The Last Night, SEAL Team CBS, and the 2022 Universal thriller Ambulance. We will talk with Remi this morning. But first, let us bring on our president and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, Dr. Ben Chavis. Good morning, Dr. Chavis.
Good morning, Stacey Brown, and to all of our listeners. On behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, Karen Carter Richards, our distinguished chair of the whole 230 African-American owned newspapers and media companies across the United States, we're so pleased to be back on Let It Be Known.
Absolutely, and we are live. And let's start with the news headlines, Dr. Chavis. This morning, Brooklyn Emerging Leaders Academy, BELA, the charter school and all-girls high school in Brooklyn, is celebrating its first graduating class in the school's history. But even more, all of the graduates have been accepted into college. The program launched in 2017, and since then, the school has aimed to help overcome the educational inequalities encountered by Black and Brown youth by empowering each young woman to be the best version of herself. And its first batch of graduates proved exactly that. According to blacknews.com, Bella's class of 2021, which consists of 90% Black and more than 75% first-generation college students, brags of a 100% college acceptance rate. The students applied to more than 150 colleges and universities and received almost $1 million in merit-based scholarships. So congratulations. What they're doing over in Brooklyn, Dr. Chavis, at the Brooklyn Emergency Leaders Academy Charter School is nothing short of amazing.
Well, it shows that given the proper resources, the proper encouragement, our young people today can achieve great academic success and great development as a new generation of leaders stepping forward. So we congratulate the school on their academic success, and hopefully it opens the doors for generations more to not only go to college, but get their college degree and make a positive contribution to our society and to the world in which we live.
Absolutely. And Dr. Chavis, also in the news this morning, one Alabama-based nonprofit is working to do its part to better ensure that Black and Brown men are getting the mental health support that they need to survive and thrive. Brother, Let's Talk, the brainchild of a group of Birmingham-based Black men, mental health providers, and a close-knit group of like-minded community stakeholders, is stepping up its efforts to increase wraparound support services for Black and Latino men. This summer and fall, the organization is adding protection against the deadly coronavirus to its arsenal of support. While the long-term effects of COVID-19 on American society continues to be tallied, early research has confirmed that communities of color have been hardest hit, experiencing the highest death and infection rates and being disproportionately impacted by the economic fallout. As a result, long-standing mental health challenges that have long plagued those communities well before the onset of the pandemic have been exacerbated. With the help of a grant provided by the Alabama Department of Public Health aimed at protecting vulnerable communities from the spread of COVID-19, starting this summer and fall, the organization will provide free access to COVID-19 vaccinations and the in-person relaunch of its signature barbershop talk series. So they're really honing in on helping Black and Brown men with this COVID-19 pandemic. Somebody else doing some good work, Dr. Chavis, down in Alabama.
Well, absolutely. And shout out to the Birmingham Times, one of our leading African-American owned newspapers, members of the NNPA. And going back to Brooklyn, your first story, I should have said about the New York Daily Challenge. Tom Watkins, who is our Region 1 president, doing great work in Brooklyn and across the city of New York. It just shows you that all of our papers and all of these headlines, where the headlines come from, We have some dynamic Black-owned newspapers in all those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Chavis, Darnella Frazier, the teen who recorded the police killing of George Floyd, said her uncle was the innocent driver killed in a crash during a police chase early Tuesday in Minneapolis. His car was struck as police pursued a robbery suspect in another vehicle. Darnella took to social media to say that another Black man lost his life at the hands of the police. She identified Lanil Lamont Frazier, who was 40 years old, as the victim. She says, Minneapolis police has cost my whole family a big loss. Today has been a day full of heartbreak and sadness. She did say that the police made a bad decision. She didn't, she said that bad decision cost my uncle his life. She didn't say it was intentional. She says it was not intentional. She understands that, but the decision that they made to pursue this individual, the way they pursued it was a bad decision. And police spokesman John Elder said that about 12 blocks away, the pursuing officer crashed into a westbound vehicle at the intersection of Lindell Avenue North and 41st Avenue North. And so this was a tragic accident, but it involved the uncle of Darnella Frazier, who, Dr. Chavis, we just gave a huge award to at the NMPA's 2021 convention.
Absolutely. And we thank Darnella for continuing to be a journalist. We gave her the Ida B. Wells Freedom Fighting Photojournalism Award at our convention. And people can still go to www.virtualnmpa2021.com to see her acceptance speech. We're so proud of her. At the age of 17, she filmed the murder of George Floyd. And now at 18, I'm sorry, we'll express our condolences to her family, what just tragically happened to her relative. But Darnella has a great future ahead of her. And we also gave her a significant financial academic scholarship so that she can continue her education.
Yeah, a wonderful thing. And folks can go back and watch Darnella Frazier receive that award, among other things, at the convention. You can go to www.virtualnmpa2021.com and see that those award ceremonies, and also see all of the great content that's there, including information about the coronavirus from Dr. Anthony Fauci and from the CDC, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, and others. There's some great content from Pfizer, General Motors, and others. So check out, it's not too late to look at the virtual convention of the National Newspaper Publicists Association at www.virtualnmpa2021.com. We urge you to check that out. I want to say good morning, Dr. Chavis, to Michelle Madison. Lon Haber is watching, Joni King, Lynn Spivey. Good morning to Michelle Madison, Annette Phillips, Gregory Muhammad. It's always good to see Gregory Muhammad checking us out in the mornings, Dr. Chavis. And also want to say a good morning to our special guest, writer, actor, Remi Adeleke. Good morning, Remi.
Good morning, Mr. Brown, and Dr. Chavis.
Good morning. We're so glad to have you, brother Adeleke. And listen, man, you've had a great career, and you know, everybody just doesn't become a Navy SEAL. That's a very strenuous challenge process, and congratulations on your military service, but also on what you've done with your life after military service. It's just been truly transformative. And we're so pleased to have you to spend a few moments with us this morning on behalf of the Black press of America.
Absolutely. It's a blessing to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, first of all, let's start, Remi, with the book. You have a new book that came out. Tell us the title and tell us about this book.
Yeah. So I actually have a copy right here. It's awesome. Transformed. And it's the subtitle is A Navy SEAL's Unlikely Journey from the Throne of Africa to the Streets of the Bronx and Defying All Odds. And essentially, it's my memoir cataloging my story, all of the things that we went through, going from rich in Nigeria, having absolutely everything, to being stripped of everything by the Nigerian government, becoming poor and moving to the United States, and just facing a lot of the hardships that my mother faces because my father died. My mother faced raising my brother and I in the Bronx, and getting in trouble, running the streets, doing some things I shouldn't have done, and then finally finding my way into the military, into the SEAL teams, into education, getting my master's degree, and then finding my way into Hollywood, and starting businesses and so on and so forth. And I am starting a charter school. So I was listening to the story earlier. We're starting me and one of my partners, Fidel Franklin. We're starting a charter school in Muskegon, Michigan, for young Black and brown kids, and it's going to be a charter school that focuses on aquatics, maritime charter school. So sailing and just things around the water, so the kids have that experience along with a really, really good education.
Yeah, and you talk about your book, and your life, and folks need to understand that things wasn't handed to you. You lost your father, like you said, the Nigerian government took everything. Tell us a little bit more about that challenge in Nigeria, and did that act or serve as a catalyst for you later in life?
Yeah, I want to say it absolutely served as a catalyst. My father was a very well-known, renowned engineer, and he did a lot for not just the West, but primarily for his people in Nigeria. And so when the Nigerian government did what they did to him, it really was a motivating factor for me to bring back what was taken from my father, and maybe not bring it back in the sense that I'll be able to get the island back and the wealth back that the Nigerian government took, but just honor my father's name by giving 100% to everything that I do, so that I can get back the wealth and the status in my own way.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to do the book, to write the book?
I wrote the book in 4 months.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. So what did you find challenging to write, or was anything about it challenging to write?
No, it's like everything poured out of me for a long period of time. For many years, I've told my story. Even when I remember I was in SEAL training, and there's not that many African Americans that show up to SEAL training. I think less than 1% of Navy SEALs are African American, and I think I was around the 50th in the history of the SEAL team since 1962 to become to become an African American SEAL. And so, even in SEAL training, guys were just fascinated. They were just like, dude, like, tell us how you ended up in America, and how'd you end up in the military and in the Bronx and all that. So I was always telling my story orally. So when it came time for me to write my book, there was all the stories were fresh in my mind because I've told them for years. And so I just kind of put pen to paper and just let it all fall out of my brain.
Yeah, sound 4 months. Wow. And who's the publisher, and where can folks get the book? And tell the folks the name of the book again.
Yeah, so the publisher is HarperCollins. People can get the book anywhere where books are sold: Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Books A Millions, anywhere, iTunes, Spotify, on audio, wherever books are sold. And again, the title of the book is Transformed: A Navy SEAL's Unlikely Journey from the Throne of Africa to the Streets of the Bronx to Defying All Odds.
Yeah, I see Lon Haber is watching on one of our channels, and Lon says it's amazing and inspirational, never ceases to amaze me. Dr. Chavez, I know I see that look on your face. You're amazed as well. Let me throw it over to you.
Well, absolutely. And we thank Brother Remi for sharing his story. It is a transformative story. I've been to those parts of Nigeria where Remi's family is from. Nigeria has a storied history. There are different administrations, different governments. One of the things I wanted to ask Remi, have you been back to Nigeria? How are things now? Do you still have relatives there? And what is your outlook in terms of the future of relationships between African Americans and Nigerians?
Yeah, I was back in Nigeria in 2018. And as far as what has changed, I still have a lot of family in Nigeria, cousins, uncles. My grandfather had eight, I believe 8 or 9 wives. So and my dad was the firstborn son. So I do have a lot of family out there. A lot hasn't changed. In my opinion, it's gotten worse. As it relates to the systemic corruption within Nigeria. being out there as soon as you get off the plane, custom agents are bribing you and essentially saying, if you want to get in, you got to give them some money. I was pulled over by the police out there and bribed to essentially continue on my journey. And then obviously the poverty, the wealth gap is extremely large. You have people who are extremely rich, or you have people who are extremely poor. You have, multi-million-dollar houses right next to shanty town. So a lot hasn't changed. A lot of the money that governors and congressmen are receiving goes right into their pockets. Their pockets are lined with. There was actually a recent scandal actually this past week in Nigeria with a law that was passed that's not going to be a benefit to the Nigerian people. So yeah, it's I get messages all the time from people in Nigeria asking me to come back and to run for politics, or to get into politics, or to help with consulting in some way. Which I don't know, maybe one day I will go down that route. But yeah, a lot hasn't changed there. But as far as relations between I know a lot of Nigerian culture, they love, African American culture, and they take a lot from African American culture out in Nigeria. So from what I understand and from what I've seen just with my mere eyes, the relations are pretty good. When I was out there, I felt, and when I do go to Nigeria, I always feel a lot of love from the Nigerian people, and yeah.
Wow.
Very good.
Yeah, and remember, you also, we're going to talk about your acting, but you also you're a screenwriter. You wrote the teleplay for Slave Stealers, which highlights Harriet Jacobs, the abolitionist. Tell us about that.
Yeah, when I was approached to adapt I was initially approached to adapt it into a movie, and I never heard who Harriet Jacobs was. I've heard of Harriet Tubman and I've heard of many others, but I never heard of Harriet Jacobs. And so the producers who approached me, asked me to read the book, and I read the book. And I was just blown away by the book and her story, just the things that she went through, as a young girl. She was forced into slavery for the most part, but she did some heroic things to escape slavery. Everything from hiding in a box for 7 years, right under the nose of her slave master. And she would write letters from that box and get them sent to New York, and get letters sent from New York back down to Edenton, North Carolina, which is a whole crazy story in and of itself, because my mother, my father was Nigerian, but my mother, she's was born and raised American. So her great great grandmother was a slave in Edenton, North Carolina. And I remember as a kid, we would go down to Edenton, North Carolina to visit our aunts and our uncles. And so, but she would send the letters back down to Edenton, and in order to trick her slave master into believing that she was in New York, and he ended up depleting all of his funds. And so she was doing, I've had experience in intelligence, and she was doing a lot of what we call tradecraft and spy work during that time in order to escape slavery. So very, very intelligent woman. And then after she eventually escaped slavery, she started a school. She believed in education. So she started a school on the front lines of where slaves were escaping from the South into the North, and she would take in slaves, educate them, and set them on the right path. So her story is amazing. Many people should know her story, and I wish I would have known her story a lot earlier, especially going through SEAL training, because she went through SEAL training 10 times over. And yes, I'm excited. We're doing that as a limited TV series.
Wow, that is awesome. And you have look, there's the Transformers, The Last Night, Six Underground. Tell us about your acting career. We've been talking about you as a Navy SEALs. We've talked about you as a writer, a screenplay writer as well. But your acting, where is all that fitting?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm just open at times. My phone rings, and usually on the other end of the phone, before I get an acting job, is somebody who's a producer, or and they say, "Hey, Remi, we want you to act in a movie or a TV show, and I'm a businessman, so I say yes. But it's been a great experience. I've got to work with some of the greatest actors and legends in the business, from Corey Hawkins to Anthony Hopkins. I saw you had a picture of him up there, to Mark Wahlberg. I'm working on a TV show currently right now with Chris Pratt and JD Prado, who's the lead of Mayans, and worked with. I've just been blessed to be in some great circles, and to work on some really great projects, and diversity is a really big thing to me, and it's important that we have diversity in front of the camera, but also behind the camera. And so to be able to be in front of the camera and have young and play heroic roles or inspirational roles, and have young kids who come from my background or look like me and see themselves in the character that I play, and say, hey, you know what, I could be that, I could be a hero, or I could be a Navy SEAL, or I could be an engineer, or I could be a doctor, or I could be whatever it is, the role that I'm playing. So it really excites me to be in front of the camera, and I enjoy it.
Dr. Chambers, I'm going to throw it to you.
Well, ironically, Remi, we both have relatives in Eatonton, North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the eastern shore of North Carolina, this little town called Eatonton, North Carolina. And one of the greatest civil rights leaders out of North Carolina, his name is Golden Frinks, comes from Eatonton, North Carolina. He was the one that actually got me to work for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when I was 14 years old.
Awesome.
So I need to talk to you about Eatonton, man.
Yes.
But listen, I think that we really want to stay in touch with you. Your story, man, is the kind of story that the Black press loves to lift up. You not only overcome challenges to you, but also challenges to your family. And God has blessed you, man. And you're sharing your blessings on the stage, off the stage, behind the stage. But I really like the point you made about the business side. We're so creative as a people, but sometimes where we fall short, Remi, is on the business side. And the Black press, we represent all of these are African American owned business people, men and women. And it's intergenerational. A lot of our papers are second and third generation family owned businesses. Yes. Can you just talk about the importance of owning your own business, not only creating your own narrative, but owning the rights to your narrative?
Yeah, 100%. It's something I'm all about. I own 3 companies, as a matter of fact. Right around it, about 2 years after I got into the film and TV industry, I said, you know what, I'm going to get incorporated. I'm going to get incorporated. I'm going to start a production company myself, so that way everything that I create goes through my production company, so I have an ownership stake in it. And there's times when I will take less money up front, so that I could have more ownership and more equity in the long run. And I think that that's something that, that in the Black community, we forget the importance of, foregoing that upfront money, because everybody wants to give you the upfront money. But that upfront money does not equate to the decades and decades of generational wealth that you create when you have ownership in it. So yeah, I just started an apparel company called Nat Geo, and one of the reasons why I started that company was because I had a lot of other apparel companies reaching out to me and saying, hey, Remi, can you wear my shirt on your interview, or can you wear my shirt and take pictures? And I would wear all these shirts for all of these companies all the time, and I'm not getting any compensation from it. But I said, you know what, I'm going to start my own apparel company, and I'm going to promote my own apparel company, and I'm going to own my own apparel company, and I do. And we launched an apparel company called Kejo Wear, Kejo Wear, back in actually on Father's Day weekend, and we're sold out of inventory. We're having a hard time with inventory, but we're ordering more and more inventory. But again, owning your own company, and it doesn't take much. I think what sometimes, I know for me, there's that fear. There's this, it's going to cost too much money to start a company. What if it fails? And what if this? And legal side of it, I got to get a lawyer. You could just go on LegalZoom.com, and invest, maybe $1,500, start something. And then the tax breaks you get, which is something that is not talked about within the African-American community. The tax breaks you get when you own, when you're incorporated, whether it's an S corporation, or even an LLC, and you're able to write off so much and save so much on taxes instead of paying out of your pocket. And then you could work strategically to pay yourself in ways so that way you're not paying too much taxes. It's not taxable. It's doing what a lot of people do, just doing what the rich do, to stay rich. And yeah, it's very important. I want to encourage every Black and brown person out there, start a business. If you come up with an idea, get in corporate. I don't care if it's a barbershop. I don't care if it's selling candy. I don't care what it is. Get incorporated, get an LLC. Start from there. Start with what you know.
Well, Remi, I want to pitch an idea live on air. Man, one of the dots that's missing globally is that we need to have better control over the narrative of people of African descent.
Yes.
And I want to talk to you on camera and off camera about hooking up some dots between African American business people, Nigerian business people, and other African business people to have a global media company that distributes the truth about our people.
I like it. That's a fantastic idea. I think that's 100% needed. And when you have, in the SEAL teams, it's called the teams for a reason, because we've learned that when you bring together a group of people who have a similar skill set or different skill sets, and who that's how you complete the mission. That's how you're more effective. There are no Johnny Rambos. It's called SEAL team for a reason. So yes, I agree with that. If we can all get together and get on the same page. And no infighting, no jealousy, no all this, that, you're Nigerian, you're African American, we can't get together. No, get together, then we can create something great and really change the narrative and educate. And being in Hollywood, there's that saying, Black doesn't travel. And that's why you don't see a lot of the hypocrisy in Hollywood is deafening at times, but it's frustrating at times. But you don't see a lot of expensive African American led films.
Exactly. The Cannes Film Festival is going on right now.
Yes.
I just saw Spike Lee on the clip. He's over there. He's always over there. But I went to the Cannes Film and I was amazed. Yeah. You have all these African. People talk about Hollywood or Bollywood. Yeah. But there's a Nollywood also.
Yeah. Nollywood, yes.
Right. Nigerian filmmakers. But we'll talk offline. But I just wanted to let my fellow publishers in the NNP know that I'm always thinking about how to expand not only our reach globally, but how to generate revenue from the team concept, working together.
Yes.
And Lon says he's the team is ready. He's already drafting the first press release right now.
Oh, let's do it.
And our publisher in Texas, Charles Smith, says, "Wow, thanks so much for sharing your wisdom, and that's a great idea, Dr. Chavis. Let's let's get those passports and expand our horizons." So everybody's on board, Dr. Chavis and Remi. So it's on you two guys. Let's
get incorporated. Let's get something going.
Absolutely.
There you go. The book is called Transformed: A Navy SEAL's Unlikely Journey from the Throne of Africa to the Streets of the Bronx to Defying All Odds. It's available at all major booksellers. You got to check this guy out. He's got a lot to say. He's got a lot more that's coming. We know you're working on some other projects. Remi, you have a talent hold deal with Nat Geo and Disney, so we're looking forward to what comes of that as well. We really appreciate you stopping by the Black Press this morning, and I'm sure you and Dr. Chavis will do some more talking as the days and weeks go by.
Absolutely. Lon, if you can get Dr. Chavis my contact, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, and again, Remi Adeleke, we really appreciate you. And again, don't forget, every Sunday, watch the Chavis Chronicles on PBS TV and PBS World, starring that man right there, Dr. Ben Chavis, who bring you more in-depth Black news from a global scale. Let it be known, in the words of James Baldwin, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Thanks for joining us. We will see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, and thank you, Dr. Chavis, for having me.
Thank you, good brother.
All right now.